It's 2:17 in the morning. You're asleep in your apartment when a hard impact hits the front door. Before your brain fully understands what you heard, there's another one. The deadbolt is locked. The chain is on. You did what you were supposed to do. But there's one problem most apartment renters never think about. The lock may not be the weakest part of your door. A strong deadbolt attached to a weak frame can create a dangerous illusion of security. And in many apartments, especially older buildings or units that have been repaired again and again, the material surrounding that lock may be far more vulnerable than the lock itself. That's the mistake an intruder hopes you make. You hear the deadbolt click and assume the entire entrance is secure. But apartment security isn't one lock. It's a system. The lock, strike plate, frame, hinges, door, visibility, detection, and your own habits all determine how much warning and resistance you actually have. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to inspect that system without turning your rental into a fortress, drilling holes everywhere, or spending a fortune. Stay with me, because the final security test takes about 60 seconds, costs almost nothing, and can expose a weakness you may have been sleeping beside every night. Rule number 1. Stop judging your door by the deadbolt. Walk over to your front door and look at the exact point where the deadbolt enters the frame. That metal piece is the strike plate. Behind it sits the door jamb, and behind that is the structure that ultimately has to absorb force if somebody pushes or strikes the door. So the important question isn't, do I have a deadbolt? It's, what is my deadbolt actually anchored into? A shiny lock can look impressive while the material around it is cracked, loose, worn, or poorly repaired. You don't need to dismantle your apartment to check. Look closely around the strike plate. Do you see cracks in the wood? Screws that appear loose? Old holes from previous hardware? A section that moves when you gently test it? Paint can hide a lot. Trim can hide even more. And if you live in a rental, don't immediately start modifying structural hardware yourself. Photograph anything that looks damaged and report it to your landlord or property manager. A security problem doesn't become less serious because the apartment belongs to somebody else. Rule number 2. Test the door, not just the lock. Some apartment doors are genuinely solid. Others simply look solid. Close yours and pay attention to how it behaves. Does it flex noticeably? Is the area near the lock damaged? Does the door sit evenly inside the frame? Most importantly, can you lock the deadbolt smoothly? Because if every night you have to pull the handle toward you, lift the door slightly, or push your shoulder against it just to make the deadbolt line up, that's telling you something. The door and frame aren't meeting the way they should. A resident might live with that for years and eventually think, that's just how this door works. Then one day, the misalignment gets worse. The hardware loosens, and the problem they ignored becomes the weak point. Check your hinges too. They should be secure, properly aligned, and free from obvious movement or separation. You're not trying to become a locksmith tonight. You're looking for warning signs. And after you inspect your own door, tell me in the comments what you found. Was it solid, or did you notice something you'd never paid attention to before? If this kind of practical apartment preparedness is useful to you, subscribe. The goal here isn't paranoia. It's learning where ordinary apartment living becomes vulnerable before an emergency exposes it for you. Because once the door itself is reasonably secure, the next problem is bigger. One barrier is never enough. Rule number 3. Create layers. Think about how secure facilities are protected. They don't rely on one magical piece of equipment. They create multiple obstacles so a failure in one layer doesn't automatically mean total failure. Your apartment should follow the same principle. The first layer is the building itself. Controlled access, functioning exterior doors, lighting, cameras where available, and residents who don't casually allow strangers through secured entrances. The second layer is your apartment door. The third is detection. A contact sensor, alarm, monitored system, or another legal renter-friendly option may alert you when something is happening before the situation gets worse. And the fourth layer is the one people forget completely: your response. Imagine hearing heavy movement outside your door at 2 a.m. Your alarm tells you something is wrong. Good. Now, what? Where's your phone? Where's your flashlight? Does everyone in the apartment know where to go? Does anyone open the door to investigate? How quickly can you contact emergency services if necessary? Equipment may give you time. A plan determines whether you waste it. Depending on your lease and local rules, renter-friendly devices such as portable door security products, door alarms, removable contact sensors, or other non-permanent options may help create extra layers without modifying the property. But don't buy security gear just because a dramatic online video made it look impressive. Your door configuration matters. The direction it opens matters. The gap around it matters. Your lease matters. The best device is the one that actually works with your apartment. And once you understand physical protection, there's a quieter vulnerability to fix. What are you revealing without realizing it? Rule number 4. Stop advertising when your apartment is vulnerable. Picture a resident coming home from work every evening around 6:30. Packages sit outside the door until then. The hallway light is on, but the apartment stays dark all afternoon. On weekends, delivery boxes for electronics and emergency gear pile up near the recycling area. Nobody is deliberately telling strangers, "Here's my schedule and here's what I own." But a pattern is being created anyway. That's the danger. You can strengthen a door and still make your apartment easier to understand from the outside. Packages left for hours can suggest nobody is home. Public vacation posts can reveal that an apartment may be empty. Discarded boxes can advertise valuable equipment. And if you're building an emergency supply, broadcasting that fact can become especially important during a prolonged disruption. Your home may contain food, water, backup power, lighting, communications gear, medicine, and other essentials. You don't need your hallway knowing the inventory. This isn't about becoming secretive with everyone you meet. It's about reducing unnecessary information. And if you're currently building your apartment preparedness setup, I've made that easier too. I've put together the survival gear and resources I trust for apartment living in the description and pinned comment, including options for emergency water, lighting, core supplies, food preparedness, and off-grid skills. You don't need to buy everything at once. Start with the weakest part of your setup and improve one layer at a time, because there's another mistake that doesn't involve the lock at all. Rule number 5. Stop opening the door before you know who's there. Imagine someone knocks at 10:30 in the morning. You're working from home. You hear, "maintenance." You weren't expecting maintenance, but you recognize the phrase. So your hand automatically moves toward the lock. Stop. You are not required to open your door simply because somebody knocked. Use the peephole. Use an intercom if you have one. Use a permitted camera system if available. Talk through the closed door. And if somebody says they work for the building when you weren't expecting them, verify it independently. Call the management office using the number you already have. Don't rely only on a phone number or explanation provided by the person standing outside. Here's what most people get wrong without realizing it. They confuse familiarity with verification. You see the same delivery people. You recognize neighbors. You recognize maintenance uniforms. The hallway feels familiar because you walk through it every day. But familiar surroundings can make you lower your guard faster than unfamiliar ones. A shared hallway is still outside your home. Control the transition from outside to inside. And now consider what happens when the building itself stops helping you. Rule number 6. Prepare for security systems to fail. A blackout hits at 8:40 p.m. The hallway suddenly feels different. The normal background hum disappears. The elevator is dead. Emergency lights come on, but parts of the floor are much darker than usual. One resident walks to the stairwell and realizes they don't know where the stairs actually exit at ground level. Another assumes every electronic access point is operating exactly as it did before the outage. That's not when you want to start learning your building. Different buildings handle power failures differently. Some systems may have backup power. Others may behave differently during an outage. The point is not to guess. The point is to find out in advance. Ask management what happens to exterior access during power loss. Learn your stairwell routes. Know where every usable exit leads. Pay attention to doors that are routinely propped open or fail to close properly. Keep a flashlight somewhere you can reach from bed. Not in a storage tote, not behind holiday decorations, not underneath 6 months of emergency supplies. Within reach. Keep your phone charged, and consider backup power for basic communication. If you share the apartment with other people, establish one simple rule before an outage happens. Nobody opens the door during a confusing situation until the person outside has been identified. Now ask yourself something. If your door made a strange sound tonight, how early would you know something was wrong? That question leads to rule number 7. And this is where apartment security changes from being about strength to being about time. Your best security advantage may be early detection. Think about 2 versions of the same night. In the first, you wake up only when someone is already hitting your door. You're confused, half asleep, trying to understand what's happening. In the second, you become aware of unusual activity in the hallway before anyone touches your entrance. Maybe a sensor alerts you. Maybe you hear repeated attempts at neighboring doors. Maybe a trusted neighbor sends a message. Same building, same door, completely different amount of reaction time. And reaction time is valuable. Pay attention when secured exterior doors stop working. Report hallway lights that stay broken. Take repeated, unauthorized access seriously. And get to know 1 or 2 reliable neighbors. Not because you need everyone watching everyone else, but because a small amount of communication can provide something hardware can't. Context. Someone has been trying doors on our floor. The stairwell entrance isn't locking. There's somebody in the hallway claiming to be maintenance. Information received early changes decisions. And now we reach the 60-second test I promised you. Do this tonight. Walk to your front door. Lock it. Check that the deadbolt fully engages. Look at the frame around the strike plate. Check the hinges. Confirm any secondary device you use is ready. Then make sure your phone and flashlight are accessible from where you sleep. And ask yourself one question. If something happened at this door right now, would I know exactly what to do? If you hesitate, that hesitation just showed you what needs work. Apartment security isn't about making your home impossible to enter. Nothing can promise that. It's about increasing resistance, increasing awareness, and creating enough time to respond intelligently. You may not control your building. You may not be allowed to replace the entire door. You may not have thousands of dollars for equipment, but you can identify weak points before somebody else discovers them for you. A locked door can make you feel secure, but the click of a deadbolt is not a security plan. Do the 60-second test tonight, then fix the first weakness you find. Because the mistake an intruder hopes you make isn't simply forgetting to lock your door. It's believing that locking it was enough.